In this episode of Cumorah, we're going to talk about the academic cycle and how this whole system works. First, we have to see here that we have these LDS intellectuals that start this off. They reject the prophets' teachings about Cumorah being in New York, and instead they promote what we call M2C, which is the Mesoamerican two-Cumorahs theory, the idea that there are really two Cumorahs. The one in New York is where Joseph got the plates. The real Cumorah of the final battles of the Jaredites and Nephites, as well as the depository of the Nephite records, is somewhere in Mexico. And this idea is promoted by the old farms, if you remember that. Today it's promoted by Fair Mormon, which is a webpage that talks about this, by Book of Mormon Central, by other organizations of scholars who have all agreed that the prophets are wrong. These people then teach this idea of M2C, that the prophets are wrong, to their students at BYU and in the church educational system, consisting of both seminary and institute. This has been going on for several decades now, started primarily in the 1980s, late 1970s. Their students then become artists and church employees at BYU, church educational system, and the church office building, the various departments of the church office building. And then also, of course, they become members throughout the church, missionaries, teachers, local leaders, etc. So, in other words, this M2C, the Mesoamerican two-Cumorahs theory that rejects the prophets, originated with the intellectuals, was taught through BYU, CES, from there migrated into the various professions as people entered the workforce. And then these artists and church employees create M2C content. They create media, artwork, lesson manuals, the displays in the visitor centers that we've talked about that depict the two Cumorahs with Mormon down in Central America. And then these intellectuals cite the work of their students to prove that their theories are correct. And that just accentuates this or accelerates this whole problem, and the cycle repeats. Now it's gotten to the point where this Mesoamerican two-Cumorahs theory has pretty well been accepted throughout BYU and CES by all the church most of the church employees and missionaries, members throughout the world. And it's implicit in all the content that's put out by these employees, including the correlation department, the missionary department, church history department, and so forth. They all teach this Mesoamerican two-Cumorahs theory. And that's what perpetuates this cycle. So what we're trying to do now is stop this. We want to break this cycle and start teaching that the prophets were correct. And as we do, we can fix this whole problem. There you go.